All right, welcome back to the channel. So Errol Spence Jr. is unofficially or officially blackballed by Dazn, refused the biggest fight in boxing so that Canelo Alvarez could go off and fight an also-ran that nobody cares about. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Dazn would have you believe, and Canelo Alvarez would have you believe, that a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders is what the boxing world really wants to see. Or they're trying to convince you that a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin is really what the boxing world wants to see. But we got to go through Billy Joe Saunders first. In either scenario, Dazn and Canelo are telling you we do not want the biggest fight in boxing on our network. No Errol Spence Jr. fight. Let me tell you how ridiculous that is if you listen to the words of boxing business people for years who tell you all the time, boxing is a business. Boxing is a business. Boxing is a business. It's about the money. If it doesn't make dollar, it doesn't make sense. We got to make the big fights. The reason why you can't have Jermall Charlo and Canelo Alvarez is because who is Jermall Charlo? What has he done? Nobody knows him. He doesn't sell tickets. So Canelo Alvarez has to fight somebody else that nobody knows that doesn't sell tickets. That is what has been going on, okay? At least for the last couple years. And it's hilarious because when Errol Spence Jr. shows up to a Dazn fight, gives an interview on Dazn saying he wants to fight somebody, the biggest fighter on Dazn. This is the biggest fighter from another network named Fox, which is much bigger than Dazn. And if that fight happened, could spread the name of Dazn all over the place, but they don't want the fight. What sense does that make? I'll tell you what sense that makes. It makes the same sense as as Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, all refusing to fight Errol Spence Jr., saying the exact same things that Dazn is saying about Errol Spence Jr. right now. No, thank you. He needs to go prove himself. No, thank you. We want no smoke from the Southpaw Texan that never stops coming at you. No, thank you. Let somebody else go fight him. That is what you're seeing at Dazn. And what you're seeing it wrapped in is a bunch of excuses about how, Canelo Alvarez is 168. He's got plans at 168. Errol Spence Jr. is 147, dude. Up until not too long ago, 147 guys always moved up to 160. You guys are acting. See, when we say, well, he's down at 147, that's two whole weight classes. No, it's not. It's one weight class and a tweener bit of crap that some promoters threw in there so they can make some extra money. The truth of the matter is, guys like Henry Armstrong, who was a featherweight champ, moved up to lightweight and won the lightweight champ. He did not go to that 100 and what is in between it, the 130-pound division. He didn't go. He went from 126 to 135, and that is the vast majority of boxing history that people have done that. Sugar Ray Leonard, I do not believe, had a stopover between 147 and 160 when he went to go fight Hagler. He went from 147 to 160. The only difference here with Canelo Alvarez is that Canelo Alvarez got another trash weight in between weight class that some promoters threw together called the 168-pound division that allows him to move weight divisions without jumping from 160 to 175. get through your head that these 168, 154, and these in-between classes that are either called light or super, depending on what you are talking about, were not in existence when I was not in if they were in existence, they were not taken seriously when I was a child. And I, although I'm older, was not a child that long ago. Canelo Alvarez versus Errol Spence Jr. are two guys that are relatively the same size. One is 5'9", the other guy is about 5'7", and guess who's taller? It's Errol. Okay? But regardless, Errol Spence Jr. is a quantifiable pay-per-view star in the United States. He has name recognition. He has name recognition in the state where the fight's going to happen. There's literally no reason for Canelo Alvarez not to fight Errol Spence Jr. if what you're saying is that you're looking to grow the business of Dazn and you're looking to get the most money and the most fan interest that you can. It is a no-brainer who the best fight for Canelo Alvarez is underneath that scenario. It is Errol Spence Jr., and he doesn't have to prove anything technically because he's already proven he's a better fighter than Billy Joe Saunders. And you want to know why? Because he didn't test positive for nafraxaline and get stripped of a belt. So you want Canelo, a guy that has been that got tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, to fight another guy that nobody knows in the United States who's also tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs and avoid the fight with the biggest name in American boxing, when people have said for years that the magic formula to make money in boxing is between a black American fighter and a Mexican fighter? Isn't that what they said? Or a Spanish fighter? Isn't that the Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran mega fight? Isn't that the Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather Jr. mega fight? Isn't that the Oscar De La Hoya, Tito Trinidad mega fight? Isn't it the Floyd Mayweather Jr., Juan Manuel Marquez, and everybody else he fought on Cinco de Mayo and in the second week of September? Isn't that the formula that everybody said was what you need to do? Isn't that the same formula that Gervonta Davis is using to build his name and become a pay-per-view star? Well, guess what Canelo wants to do? Canelo don't want to do that one. Canelo wants to do the let's go beat up Euro bums. And if you don't believe me, listen to what was said after the fight by Eddie Hearn in a conversation with Canelo Alvarez. He said, what did he say? That's 2 more to go. That's what Canelo said to Eddie Hearn. 2 more to go. I beat 5 of your guys. You got 2 more. Canelo, and who are the next 2? Billy Joe Saunders, Gennady Golovkin. Now let's move to the Gennady Golovkin fight, just in case one of you guys think that that's bigger than the Errol Spence Jr. fight. It is not. Nobody cares about Gennady Golovkin. Okay, having the Gennady, and we've all seen for a while that this was the path, right? They want the Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin fight. They want the Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin fight. Nobody higher ups want that. I am in boxing chats, boxing conversations every day with people that don't like black American fighters, people that are big fans of Australian fighters, people that are big fans of UK fighters, people that are big fans of Eastern European fighters, and nobody is calling for that fight. Nobody. They've already seen it twice. And you the same people that are out there arguing about how Deontay Wilder doesn't deserve a Tyson Fury fight, even though he's got a rematch clause, because we've already done that. And how did that end? That ended in a draw in the first fight and a win for Canelo Alvarez in the second. That's the same thing that happened to Deontay Wilder fight. But some reason Deontay doesn't deserve the fight, but Canelo, but Gennady Golovkin, he needs it so much. What has Gennady Golovkin done? But he's going to move up to 168 to fight Canelo, right? No, he is not. Canelo Alvarez is a 160-pound fighter. That's the joke of it all. He's a 160-pound fighter, but DAZN can't find a way to make a fight with Errol Spence Jr. You guys are going to go out of business for stupidity. Number one, okay? If there's a reason that DAZN is not successful, it is pure, unadulterated stupidity, number one. But This is an Eddie Hearn's game plan because Eddie Hearn gets paid every time Canelo fights. Canelo Alvarez gets paid every time Canelo Alvarez fights. The only person that gets cut out of that picture if he fights Errol Spence Jr. is Eddie Hearn. It's just absolutely ridiculous. This fight is a no-brainer, should be made based on the other fights that you guys say need to happen. Oscar De La Hoya lost to Manny Pacquiao when Manny Pacquiao moved up. He had one fight at 140 against Ricky Hatton, but he went from 135 all the way up to 147 and beat Oscar De La Hoya. Same way Floyd Mayweather Jr. moved from 135 basically up to 147 to beat Oscar De La Hoya. But none of that for Errol Spence Jr. Because just like these guys didn't want to give him a chance to become the #1 American, these international guys don't want to give him a chance to become the #1 in the world, which is exactly what would happen if he beat Canelo Alvarez, and they're not willing to give that up, and that's why they're willing to leave all that money to the side so that they can earn more down the road. That's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think, and with that, I'm out. Peace.